Hey y'all, welcome back to Big Daddy Academy. Today I want to go over a quick game I had right before I reached Master League. So it's a game at about 4.2k MMR. And the game is just a simple 3-gate blink pressure versus a Terran player I had. And I want to go over three big themes with the game itself. These three themes are really underrated, I would say, in all matchups, but specifically in the PvT matchup. So I want to cover that in this next replay, so let's go ahead and get into it. Also, before that, we have to do the cat cameo. Here is Layla. This is my first girl that I ever adopted, so she says hello before we get into the game. Here, you can go. There you go. Okay, let's go ahead and get into it here. So we'll, of course, follow my camera, and I'm just going to let the footage play a little bit. Before we get into the game, though, I actually will pause before we get into the build itself. I want to go over those three main themes, or the three main topics from the game. So, and from PvT in general. So the first one is following a build order. Now this one is really covered pretty well. Everybody you see out there who makes these guide videos will tell you to follow a strict build order. I think that is the principal and most important thing that you do need to do is just follow a build order, practice it in a match with an AI over and over until you can just do it automatically. I do think that's very important. So in this game, I will cover the build order. I think that's very important. Number two, I want to go over a concept of spending your gas efficiently and for a purpose and on time. I know those things are kind of overlapped, but I really want to go over that as well. Spending your gas efficiently. The third thing is, and this is more of a me thing conceptually, but I simply have this third theme as not freaking out. When you're attacking, when you're doing your macro build, just not freaking out, you know, realizing that we are not a pro player, that we don't need to do some crazy micro to win the game, that we just need to calm down, stick to our guns, and not do anything stupid, for lack of a better term, because that's how I play PvT. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into the game here. So in this game, I actually forget to GLHF, so sorry to my opponent here. And also, hats off to our opponent for playing against this very difficult to counter build. This build can just kill you. So going to the basics, you of course start with your 18-second pylon here and a 38 gate. This is very standard for essentially every build out there. I still to this day say 38 gate, 38 gate, 38 gate, just so I don't forget it. Currently I'm learning Zerg, and y'all would not believe how many times I just forget to build my spawning pool. So you are never too high level to say 38 gate, 38 gate. I need to build my gate at 38. So very important timing there, very important benchmark for your games if you watch your replays, which I of course recommend doing. In the build, and I'll pause briefly, many builds have a 124 core. Or cyber core, right? A core at 124 core. Here, I go Nexus first, which I see a lot of the pros doing. Of course, the downside to going Nexus first instead of core first is that your units will be about 7 seconds later. So you can see the timing. It's about a 123, 124 Nexus, which is very fast. I get away with it in this game and still win with my pressure. I can see both arguments for a Nexus first or a Cyber Core first. I've seen both arguments. I personally went Nexus first in this game. I don't think you can go wrong either way. It's not going to mess up your timing too much. except for those 7 seconds that you will be delayed. And you can see this here, our cyber core goes down at 1 minute and 31 seconds rather than 124. So it's not as clean, 124 core, 131 core, right? It doesn't flow as well, but this is a fine option as well. You're getting a little bit of economy for slightly slower adepts. One thing I do, and you'll see this, and of course you're getting your second gas after your core, making sure to put your second pylon down as well. I even ensure that I'm getting saturation here in terms of gas. But one thing I do to kind of increase the safety of the build is I'm making 2 adepts and I'm chronoing the adepts. So this kind of helps alleviate the pressure from early Reapers. If he gets a few Reapers and tries to cheese you a little bit, you have 2 chronoed adepts, so you can kind of hold it down a little bit easier. I get a little bit greedy with my adepts in this game, as you'll see, but it just kind of allows you to, you know, kind of counter that early Reaper so you don't lose a probe. You shouldn't be losing probes, but, you know, if you do. So I recommend doing this, especially if you go Nexus first, to chrono those adepts. Next, when gas allows, you're going to put down your Twilight Council. That's going to be your tech building that you're going to build. So the timing is going to be around this time, a little bit earlier, maybe 2:20. It's probably going to be your timing for that. But when gas allows, you're going to build your Twilight Council. I'm looking for the Reaper here. Especially because it came out a little bit later, I go ahead and send it across the map, because I don't think a Reaper's coming.
The firstborn shall persevere.
Just kind of scouting, seeing what he has. Also, something very important to point out here is I'm building my second gateway as my Nexus finishes. The timing for that is a little under 3 minutes. Really with this scout as well, I know I'm going a little fast here, but with this scout, I'm just going to see that he has a 1-1-1. I see the tech lab, so I know that he's getting an early Cyclone. He's just kind of playing it safe. I really don't mind the Cyclone because we're going blank. So if he continues to go into Cyclones, we're just going to hard counter him. So just kind of making sure that his buildings are in his base. I'm also checking for this command center on the high ground as well. So that's really just what I'm looking for. In the meantime, we are chronoing our tech, which is our blink. We already have our second gateway up, well before the warp gate is finishing, just so we can warp in 2 stalkers immediately. Also, a really cool trick with the gateways that I'll highlight now. We are building probes at the natural, by the way. But one trick I learned with your gateway, this is something I learned from a Hearthstone video, actually, to give credit. In that Hearthstone guide, he had his 3rd gateway finish, or excuse me, he had his 3rd gateway go up at about 77 seconds through your warp gate research. That way, now that's very specific, that's very tight, but if you can do it, it's really nice because you'll warp in 2 stalkers immediately with these 2 warp gates, and by the time the cooldown finishes, all 3 of these will be up, so you'll have 5 stalkers total, and you'll see what that looks like here in just a second. But at 77 seconds, maybe 76, you're building your 3rd gateway. If you can get that timing down, that's wonderful. I highly recommend you start incorporating that. So in the meantime, you know, we're scouting, just kind of keeping vision on the map, looking for anything crazy. It's not a 3 racks push, as we can see, so we don't need to be worried about any early pushes.
Complete. May it serve you well.
Oh, you're gonna bank some gas after your warp gate as well. Let me actually go back to highlight this, because this is important.
I have met the end.
As gas allows, after your Twilight Council research for your blink, you're going to build your robotics facility as well, because we are going to get a warp prism out of it. So ensure that you are building your robotics facility after you get blank. Very important. I want to make sure I went back and highlighted that. That's very important. So in the meantime, we're saturating our natural base to 16 probes on minerals. That's what we're doing. Immediately, we're warping in 2 stalkers with our warp gates. We're chronoing our tech, getting a warp prism. We're going to put our stalkers on the edges of our bases to look for widow mine drops. At about 4:30 to 5:15, we're going to be looking for these drops to come in.
Your research has
He comes in a little bit later. It throws me off, so we do take a little bit of damage. But even if you take damage to the widow mines, you can still recover. So at this point, we have our 8 stalkers, excuse me. Our warp gates are synced up, as you can see, because we built our warp gate at that 77-ish, 76-second marker with our warp gate. So at about 5 minutes, I start moving out with my warp prism. The magic number of stalkers you want for the push is 11 stalkers, because that one-shots a tank. So I highly recommend you do that. Now that we're getting through the build order portion of the video, I want to show the next 2 bullet points. I might even put them on screen here. The next 2 bullet points, which are really important for PvT, but as Protoss in general. Spending my gas as I'm able to, and not freaking out. So we're going to see an example of not freaking out here. So I'm just trading, blinking the weak stalker back. I take a couple of tank shells, so instead of just standing in its range, I'm going to pull back my stalkers. Now here, the widow mine drop comes in a little bit late. It's because he got drilling cause. Now I take some damage here. Not great micro, to say the least. So instead of marching my stalkers in to just, you know, die to tanks, even though I probably could have gotten away with it, only 2 tanks, I probably would have lost a lot of stalkers. I just pull my stalkers back, because I'm not hero, I'm not classic, I'm not going to be able to micromanage, you know, multiple things at once. So I pull my stalkers back at the entrance of his base, and I just respond to the drop. I use my next round of warp-ins to warp in some stalkers. I chrono my observer, and I just take care of the drop, right? I rebuild my probes. Done, right? Oh, also, let me go back a little bit to the 5-minute mark. One thing that's really critical, while your army is moving across the map, this is a great principle to just keep in mind with all matchups. While I'm sending my army out, I'm expanding behind this, so it's less all in. So I'm going to build up my 3rd nexus while my army is moving out at about 5 minutes. So I wanted to highlight that as well. So another thing that I want to highlight, and this kind of puts the 2nd bullet point up, is we're spending our gas efficiently. So after we you know, go across the map, take our 3rd base, we have about 250 gas coming up here. That means I can warp in 3 stalkers and still have 100 left over, so I have room to get charged, right? My gas is allowing me to get an advantage with my tech, so while I have time, I'm going to get charge. So, again, we go in and fight, we pull back, finish dealing with the widow mine drop here. Not perfect, but we are not perfect players. We don't freak out when we deal with it. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to be decisive with our actions. Again, we're not going to freak out. We're going to say, stalkers, attack the tank, right? We're just going to essentially take what we can get. We are getting harassed here, so we're just going to put down 2 shield batteries. because this Raven is going to keep poking in, so we don't want to keep losing probes. Now, something, if you are able to do it as well, is target down important units. So we're going to have our Stalkers selected on the 1 key. We're going to say, hit this Marauder, blank back the weak Stalkers, etc. We're not standing in tank range, right? We're just taking what we can get. We're not standing in tank range with our Stalkers. And we end up just doing crippling damage with this. Now, we do get called a Smurf. We are not a Smurf. I lost, 11 probes to the Widow Mine hit. But we just built back our probes. We are ready to transition into gas. Now, if we were to take control, so something else that I wanted to show, just briefly, where do we go from here? We didn't kill the command center. Let's say we lost more units than we meant to. Where do we go from here?
You require more.
We're just going to transition into getting splash damage. We're going to get more gates. And we're just going to continue to probe and transition into gas, right? The late game, or the mid game rather, is just going to be us probing up, not losing our army, right? And just probing up. We're going to immediately want to pivot into making Colossi and Disruptors after that. So we're going to prioritize, as soon as the robotics facility finishes, chronoing out our Colossi. Going up to 3 or 4 as a maximum is usually a sweet spot. Continuing probe production. Getting important upgrades like extended thermal lance. Continuing to warp in. At this point in the game, you can even start thinking about massing charge lots, getting a couple of sentries with energy overcharge, just for scouting. And also Guardian Shield, which is really powerful.
You require more Vespine gas.
Transferring our probes. And of course, making Colossi as we're able to. Not getting supply blocks because we're distracted and talking. But you get the point of what our game plan is. Of course, going into upgrades, we already finished our +1, so not forgetting upgrades as well. But really, what I wanted to highlight is A, we're going to follow a build order. That's the first thing. B, if we have room, especially with the charge example, to get charged, those important upgrades, and still get our warp-ins to get the charge upgrade, because we're investing in the mid-game if this push doesn't work, right? So getting things like charge, as gas allows, if we're just not killing them, we're getting the robotics bay to transition to Colossus, because that's how we win the next phase of the game, right? So I really wanted to highlight those things specifically, especially also the not freaking out aspect of the game. Okay, we're going to get what we can get. We're not going to stand in tank range with our Stalkers. We don't have to win the game right here because we got our 3rd Nexus, right?
Your warriors require additional pylons.
So those are some of the things I wanted to highlight. Again, following a build, using gas efficiently, not freaking out. Those are really just kind of the major things I wanted to go over. But tell me what you think. Did you have a different method of core first versus Nexus first? Do you prefer blinking in the main base? I know a lot of people prefer blinking in the main base because you can snipe important upgrades like stim, combat shield, things like that. Yeah, let me know what you think. Otherwise, I appreciate y'all's time. I appreciate y'all being here with me, and y'all have a great rest of your day. Bye.